The chains that once held humanity. The galaxy remembered Earth as a broken world. For centuries, humans were seen as little more than tools, flesh and bone machines to serve greater powers. The alien empires had divided Earth as one cuts a meal. The strong took cities, the greedy mined oceans, and the cruel experimented on minds. Humanity's spirit, however, was not erased. Beneath the weight of chains, a quiet fire still burned. The first conquerors had come with ships like mountains of steel. They had swept across the skies, blotting out the sun over entire nations. Against such power, human armies were nothing but dust. Resistance was brave, but it was hopeless. Millions were taken, sent to barren moons and hostile planets where humans worked as slaves in mines, factories, and laboratories. Generations grew up in bondage. The old told stories of freedom, but the young were born into servitude. Some alien overseers called humanity the weak species. Others mocked Earth, calling it a farm world that produced endless laborers. Yet even in those dark times, the human eye carried something that unsettled their masters, a quiet defiance. One alien governor once asked, "Why do they still look at us with anger, even when broken?" He did not live long after saying those words. For though the aliens had power, they also had fear. Deep inside, they knew a truth. Humanity could adapt, endure, and rise. The centuries of slavery taught humans more than survival. They studied every machine they were forced to build. They learned the languages of their masters. They discovered how alien biology worked, how their ships flew, how their weapons fired. Humanity absorbed knowledge like a sponge absorbs water, all while pretending to bow. Then came the first cracks in alien rule. It began not with armies, but with whispers. On a remote mining moon, humans sabotaged the energy systems. On a factory planet, workers secretly changed designs in weapon parts, turning them fragile in battle. Resistance spread quietly like a fire beneath the ground. The aliens dismissed it at first. They thought humans incapable of great rebellion. That mistake would be their downfall. One day, in the deep caverns of an asteroid base, a group of humans activated a hidden weapon, something they had built in secret from scraps and stolen knowledge. It was not large, not beautiful, but it worked. The blast destroyed an alien warship in orbit. News traveled like lightning. Humans had struck back. Across the galaxy, enslaved humans heard the story. They no longer whispered, they acted. Riots shook factories. Slave miners rose with stolen drills and tools. On Earth itself, where alien cities had replaced human capitals, entire populations rebelled. It was chaos, but it was the beginning of freedom. The turning point came when humans mastered the very thing that enslaved them: alien technology. For centuries, they had repaired ships and engines. Now they built their own. Human fleets, rough and patched, filled with courage instead of luxury, entered the stars. They fought with desperation, but also with strategy born of suffering. Every scar, every death, every century of chains fueled their will to fight. The alien empires began to fall back. For the first time in living memory, they feared Earth. The weak species had become the hunters. The galaxy changed in 1 century of war. Human fleets burned across worlds not for conquest, but for liberation. Planets once filled with human slaves were freed. Alien rulers were dragged from their thrones. Some begged for mercy. Some resisted and paid the price. Finally, the war ended not with Earth's destruction, but with Earth standing tall. Humanity was no longer a servant race. They were survivors, warriors, and now masters of their own destiny. Years passed, and the galaxy knew peace or something close to it. Humans rebuilt Earth, scarred but unbroken. Alien empires were humbled, forced to respect those they once enslaved. Many worlds still whispered warnings. Do not anger Earth. Do not test humanity. They remember everything. And now, as centuries turned again, the very races that had once enslaved humanity returned, not with chains, but with trembling hands. Their own wars, their own hunger, and their own mistakes had driven them to ruin. They looked toward Earth, the species they once called weak, and they begged. The question remained: would humanity grant mercy? Or remind the galaxy why it had once feared the fire hidden in human eyes? When the masters crawled back, the day began quietly on Earth. Cities that once lay in ruins now stood tall with shining towers of steel and glass. Human children ran in open parks, laughing under skies no longer darkened by alien warships. For most people, the old days of slavery were fading into history books. But for the leaders of Earth, memories never faded. The council chamber of the United Earth Alliance stretched high into the sky, its glass dome reflecting the morning sun. Inside, generals, scientists, and diplomats gathered. Their faces were calm, but their eyes sharp. They had been called for a message, an unusual one. An alien fleet had entered human-controlled space. But not in war. Their weapons were cold. Their ships carried banners of surrender. They had come not as rulers, not even as equals, but as beggars. The leader of the council stood tall as the message was played. The aliens on the screen looked nothing like the towering conquerors of old. Their scales were faded, their eyes hollow with hunger, their voices trembling. "People of Earth," the alien envoy said, lowering his head, "once we ruled you. Once we chained you. Now our worlds are dying. Our fleets are shattered. Enemies rise around us. We come to you not as masters, but as petitioners. We ask for food, for medicine, for protection. Without you, our races will fall." The chamber was silent. Every human present remembered their ancestors' suffering. The weight of history pressed heavily on their hearts. General Marcus, a man with scars across his face, broke the silence. "They chained our fathers, whipped our mothers, stole our children, and now they come asking for mercy?" His voice carried anger, but also something deeper, caution. The council debated. Some argued for rejection, others demanded punishment. But a few reminded them of Earth's greatest lesson: power must not become cruelty. Yet outside the chamber, the streets of Earth were alive with fury. News spread across the networks. Old men wept as they remembered the mines of Mars. Women clenched their fists as they recalled lost sisters. Youth who had never known slavery still felt the rage of generations. Crowds shouted, "No mercy! Let them suffer!" The aliens waited in orbit, their great fleet silent, powerless. Once they had made humans kneel. Now they themselves knelt. Days passed and more envoys arrived. Not just one race, but many. Each of them had once claimed Earth's people as property. Now they came, broken and desperate. Their homeworlds were poisoned, their populations starving. Wars among themselves had torn their empires apart. They looked to Earth, because Earth had something they had lost: unity, strength, and the will to survive. The council called another meeting. This time a historian spoke. She laid old chains upon the table, real chains, rusted with age, once worn by human slaves. "These are the marks of our past," she said. "But do we chain ourselves to hatred forever, or do we rise above it?" A deep silence followed her words. Some looked away, others clenched their fists. The final decision was not yet made. But whispers spread through Earth's governments, its armies, its people. Some said helping the aliens would show humanity's greatness. Others said refusing them would be justice. And a darker group whispered that perhaps humanity should do more than refuse. Perhaps it was time to conquer. In orbit, the alien fleets remained still. Their crews waited, hungry and afraid, watching Earth's blue oceans and green lands, knowing that their fate lay in human hands. The envoy sent another message, his voice desperate now. "Please, we cannot return without your aid. If you deny us, our species will vanish. We beg you, remember mercy." But for the humans who watched, the memory of chains was too fresh. Mercy was not impossible, but it would not come cheaply. And in that moment, the galaxy trembled. For the fate of the former masters rested not on their ships, but on the choice of the species they once called slaves. The price of mercy. The council chamber on Earth was filled with tension. The alien envoys had been waiting for weeks in orbit, their fleets weak, their people starving. But humanity had not yet spoken. The silence itself was a weapon, one more powerful than any cannon. Finally, the council gathered for the verdict. Outside, billions of humans watched through broadcasts. The weight of history pressed on every word. The head of the council stood, his voice calm but iron. "Once your races enslaved us. You stole our freedom, our lives, our children. You called us weak, unworthy, less than you. Now you crawl before us, broken and afraid, and you ask for our help. The alien envoys lowered their heads, shame on their faces. We are not what we once were, the leader continued. We are stronger, wiser, united. But make no mistake, we do not forget. You want mercy? Then you will pay its price. The chamber stirred. This was not rejection. This was not forgiveness. It was something in between. General Marcus leaned forward. If they want food, medicine, and protection, they must give us something greater. Their fleets, their worlds, their knowledge. They must serve as we once served, not as slaves, but as subjects. Humanity will rule and they will obey. The proposal spread like fire. On Earth, many cheered. They saw justice, balance restored. For centuries, humanity had been crushed under alien boots. Now at last, those same boots would kneel, but not all agreed. Some voices argued for compassion. A doctor on the council stood and said, "If we become what they once were, then we prove nothing. True power is not revenge, it is restraint. If we rule by fear, the galaxy will hate us as it once hated them." The debate raged for hours. Outside, riots broke out. Some demanded alien blood, others demanded peace. Humanity itself was torn between rage and wisdom. Meanwhile, in orbit, the alien envoys received fragments of human broadcasts. They saw the anger in the streets, the fire in human eyes. Fear spread through their fleets. Some alien commanders whispered of escape, but there was nowhere to run. Their supplies were too low. Their enemies waited beyond human space, ready to finish them if Earth refused. At last, the council returned with an answer. The head of the council spoke, his words heavy with centuries of memory. "We will not destroy you. Not yet, but mercy has a cost. Each of your empires must surrender your war fleets to Earth command. Your worlds must open their vaults of knowledge. Your people must labor, not as slaves, but as allies bound by oath. You will swear loyalty to Earth. If you refuse, then you will starve in the dark." The alien envoys trembled. To surrender fleets and knowledge was to give away their last power. To bow to Earth was to admit defeat beyond repair. Yet they had no choice. Survival demanded submission. Slowly, the alien envoy bowed low. "We accept. Humanity will have what it asks. Only grant us life," the chamber erupted. Some shouted with triumph, others with dismay. But the decision was final. Humanity had spoken. On Earth's networks, the announcement was made. Crowds roared in victory. Old men held their chains high and broke them in the streets. Children shouted the new cry, "Never again will we bow!" But deep inside, some humans felt unease. The historian who had shown the chains whispered to a colleague, "We are no longer the enslaved." But what are we becoming? In orbit, the alien fleets lowered their banners. One by one, they transmitted codes, surrendering control of their warships to Earth Command. It was the greatest reversal in galactic history, the masters handing their swords to the once enslaved. And so a new order began. Humanity, forged in chains, now stood as ruler of the stars. The aliens had begged for mercy. They had been given survival, but at a price that would change the galaxy forever. For mercy in the hands of humans was not kindness. It was power. And power always demanded more. Under Earth's shadow, the surrender of the alien fleets was only the beginning. Humanity moved swiftly, like a predator that had finally revealed its teeth. The once proud ships of alien empires now flew under Earth's banner. Human officers boarded them, stripped their command systems, and placed human crews in charge. Where alien admirals once gave orders, they now stood silent, obeying commands from the very species they once enslaved. On Earth, factories roared with new life. Alien technology was taken apart and remade in human style, efficient, rugged, and adaptable. What took other empires centuries to build, humans rebuilt in years. Entire fleets were forged, larger and stronger than anything the galaxy had seen before. The alien races watched in silence. They had thought they were buying survival. Instead, they had given humanity the tools to rule. In the streets of alien cities, the changes came quickly. Human administrators arrived, backed by fleets in orbit. They reorganized governments, set new laws, and demanded loyalty to the Earth Alliance. Taxes of food, minerals, and technology were collected. Those who resisted saw human warships above their skies, weapons locked and ready, but humanity did not rule as their former masters had. There were no whips, no slave chains, no burning of cities. Instead, there was order. Trade was enforced, peace was kept, and crime was crushed with ruthless efficiency. For some alien civilians, life even improved. Wars between rival species stopped. Starvation lessened, as human supply fleets carried aid where alien rulers had once hoarded wealth. Yet the memory of the past lingered. To bow to humans was bitter. In alien marketplaces, whispers spread. The slaves have become masters, and masters never give back power. Among the humans themselves, a divide grew wider. Some celebrated this rise as destiny. "We were forged in suffering," said General Marcus during a speech. "Now we use that fire to bring order to the galaxy. Never again shall humanity be weak." Crowds cheered him, raising banners of Earth high in alien skies, but others feared the cost. The historian who had shown the rusted chains spoke again in the council. "We risk becoming the very thing we once hated. Our hands are clean of blood now, but how long before they are stained again?" Her words were met with silence. Few wanted to hear doubt when victory tasted so sweet. The alien envoys, once full of pride, now walked the halls of Earth like ghosts. They signed treaties they did not believe in, nodded at demands they could not refuse. Some plotted in secret, whispering of rebellion, but they knew humanity's fleets would crush them if they moved too soon. One envoy dared to speak against the new order. Standing before the human council, his voice was bitter. "You call this mercy, but it is only another kind of chain. We once enslaved you, and for that, we deserve punishment. But now you enslave us in turn. You are no different from what we were." The chamber grew cold. The human leader's reply was calm, but sharp as steel. "No, we are very different. You enslaved us because you thought us weak. We rule you because you proved yourselves unworthy of power. We build order where you built only cruelty. You are alive today because of us. Do not mistake that for weakness." The envoy lowered his head. He had no answer, and so the galaxy entered a new age, one of human dominion. The old empires were broken. The survivors lived under Earth's shadow, obeying laws written not in their own tongues, but in the language of their former slaves. Yet beneath the surface, tension grew. Some humans hungered for more power. Some aliens dreamed of revenge. The balance was fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. And all across the stars, one question whispered through every world. Was humanity a savior? Or a conqueror? The answer would soon come in fire. The final judgment. The galaxy watched in silence as Earth's power grew. The fleets of humanity stretched from one arm of the stars to the other. Where once alien banners flew, now the blue and white crest of Earth blazed bright. Entire worlds saluted, some in loyalty, others in fear. The alien races that had once enslaved mankind lived under a strange peace. There were no mass executions, no burning cities, no genocide. Humanity did not destroy them. Instead, it demanded obedience and tribute. Factories on alien worlds now produced for Earth. Alien scholars were ordered to share their knowledge. Alien soldiers were trained to serve in human-led armies. At first, some saw hope in this order. War and piracy declined. Trade flourished. Even famine lessened as human fleets carried food to starving planets. For many civilians across the stars, life was safer than it had been in centuries. But deep in the halls of alien rulers, resentment festered. They remembered their empires, their power, their pride. To bow before those they once called slaves was humiliation beyond measure. Whispers of rebellion began. Small groups of alien ships tried to resist Earth's patrols. Secret uprisings sparked in cities, banners of old empires raised in defiance. But each time, humanity's response was swift. Fleets descended, rebels were crushed, and order was restored. The message was clear: resistance meant ruin. Yet the humans themselves were not united. In the council, debates grew louder. Some demanded harsher control. "They will never love us," argued General Marcus. "Only fear will keep them obedient. Mercy is weakness. We must rule with iron." Others disagreed. The historian, her voice steady though weary, answered, "If we rule with fear, then we are no different from them." We were slaves once. Do we forget so soon? Our true strength lies not in chains, but in showing a better way. The council stood divided. The galaxy trembled, waiting to see which voice would guide Earth. The breaking point came when one alien coalition, desperate and proud, launched a strike. They gathered hidden fleets, old weapons, and allies who hated humanity's rule. In one night, they attacked 3 human-controlled systems. Colonies burned. Cities fell. Thousands died. The cry for vengeance echoed across Earth. The streets roared with fury, banners of war raised high. Crowds shouted, "No mercy! Show them the fire of Earth!" The council gathered again, faces hard with anger. Generals demanded total destruction of the alien worlds behind the rebellion. They wanted to make an example so strong that no one would ever dare rise again. But then came silence. The historian stood once more, holding the rusted chains of the past. Her words cut through the fury. "These chains once bound us. They were forged in cruelty. If we destroy entire worlds now, we forge new chains, chains of our own making. Do we wish to be remembered as saviors? Or as tyrants? The galaxy already fears us. Let them see also that we are just." The council listened. The choice was sharp: vengeance or restraint. In the end, Earth's leader gave the command. The rebellion would be crushed, but not with annihilation. Fleets moved in, battles were fought, and the alien coalition was defeated. But instead of burning their worlds to ash, humanity imposed something harsher: strict governance, forced rebuilding, and permanent disarmament. The rebels lived, but they lived under the firm hand of Earth. The galaxy was stunned. Humanity had the power to destroy, yet chose discipline instead. Fear remained, but respect began to grow. The message was clear: Earth was not a monster. It was something greater, a ruler forged in suffering, tempered by choice. Years passed, and the new order settled. The alien races obeyed, some out of fear, others out of hope. Slowly, grudgingly, they began to see humanity not only as conquerors, but as guardians. The fire in human eyes still burned, but it was no longer the fire of chains. It was the fire of survival, of will, of destiny. And so, the galaxy's story turned. Once humans had been slaves. Now they stood as the axis of power. The aliens had begged for mercy, and they had been given it, but only on Earth's terms. The historian wrote the final words in her record. "We remember the chains. We remember the fire. But above all, we remember the choice. Mercy without weakness. Power without cruelty. This is humanity's true victory. And may the galaxy never forget it. The galaxy did not forget, because the slaves had become the masters, and the masters had learned to kneel."